Welcome back to SKOL News. Today, we're going to talk Vikings offseason, the salary cap, some moves the Vikings could make, and I want to hear what you all think in the comments. So, if you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like, comment, and share. It takes a second for you guys, but it means a world to the content creators and everybody on the Yankee and the Brit channel. So, thank you so much if you do that. All right, let's talk some Vikings offseason. I'm in a lot of Vikings groups, I'm in a lot of NFL groups, and I see some really cool posts and I see some really crazy posts. And I don't necessarily think this next post I'm going to talk about is crazy, but it's a little borderline. Let's talk about all these people who want to trade Justin Jefferson. I get the argument. You can get a couple first round picks and some other things, but like you're going to trade away the best receiver in the NFL? Like he's young, he's the best receiver in the NFL, and you want to trade him. Let's take a time machine back to 2005. Randy Moss trade. You end up with Troy Williamson, Napoleon Harris, and with the money you saved, serial rapist Darren Sharper. All right, let's be real. Sharper could play safety even though he's a scumbag. But that was not a good trade. The Vikings got worse just by trading away the best receiver in the NFL. He who doesn't know their history is condemned to repeat it. That type of thing. All right, let's talk some Kirk Cousins too. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what should happen with First Cousins. Yes, that's my guy, First Cousins. Do I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL? No. Do I think he's as bad as people in the comments like to put in certain groups? Absolutely not. Kirk was balling this year. Kirk played well. Yes, the last play, throw it farther. Dumb play, it happened. Season's over. People are mad. They're blaming Kirk. I would argue it's more of a defensive issue when you're 31st in the league in defense and you can't stop anybody. Every game falls onto the offense to win it. Hence all 11 one-score games, Kirk's comebacks, good passer rating. And I know people are upset about his contract, but if you look at it, it's really not that bad compared to what some people are getting right now in the NFL. Now his salary's like $10 million, then it's the bonuses and the workout bonuses. Dead cap, it's 48, which is ridiculous. Like you can't eat 48 million with a dead cap. But otherwise, I think the cap hits right around 40 million, which if you look at what other top 5 quarterbacks are making in the NFL, it's not that ridiculous. It's a 1-year deal. I personally think they should hit him with like a 2-year extension and look for the future quarterback this year. And you even have next year, gives you an extra. So you have Kirk for 3 years. You got 3 years to figure out that quarterback's position. If you see a guy, target him this year, but you don't have to reach then. You don't have to reach. And it's a lot easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better. And if picking a quarterback in the draft wasn't hard, everybody would have a franchise quarterback. Mitch Trubisky would have never got drafted before Patrick Mahomes and so on. Brock Purdy. Not that, see, and we did a podcast about him. So if you want to go check that out on Yankee and the Brit and I talk about this. But Brock Purdy didn't have the greatest season, but he did absolutely what he was asked to do for the 49ers. He did perfectly for a 10-game stretch, something like that before he got injured. But never once did somebody sit back and go, damn, Brock Purdy won the 49ers that game. They didn't, because that defense is a monstrous defense. You got weapons all over the field on the offense. Purdy did exactly what he was asked to do, and he did it very well. But let's be real. If the 49ers had Kirk, they go just as far as they did or farther. And if the Vikings had Brock Purdy, they're a 4-win team. It's that defense. They need to fix the defense. And everybody's like, they don't have the cap money. You're right. Right now, over the cap. Even though the cap jumped higher than most people expected, the Vikings are still well over the cap. But with 5 moves, and I'm not saying make all 5 moves, but with 5 moves, the Vikings could have the second most cap space in the NFL behind the Bears. There's a lot of guys that they can move on from. You can move on from Harrison Smith, and I love Harrison Smith. He's one of my favorite Vikings. But with Bynum, Metellus, Seam coming back, that safety position should be all right. You can let Harrison walk because of all the money he has. You got Hicks and Kendricks. One of those guys can go. Asamoah seems like he's ready to step up, take one of those starting roles, and they need speed at linebacker. You need your linebackers to go sideline to sideline. And I love Kendricks too, but he's lost a step. Hicks wasn't the right fit. I thought he was. I was excited about Hicks coming in. That defense played awful. Ed Donatel got fired. Rumors out there, if Brian Flores does not get the Arizona head coaching job, he's coming into the Vikings. I don't know how true that is, but if you're going to stick with the 3-4, not a better guy to bring in. He cut his teeth as a linebackers coach with the Patriots. He knows about linebackers. That's a big need for the Vikings. He likes to blitz a lot. That gets pressure to the quarterback, which helps the corners, which let's talk about the corners. Everybody's thinking that that's a problem. I don't think the corner is as big of a problem as people think. And if you just sit back and think about it, Evans was balling before the third concussion. So as long as he can come back healthy and he's safe and he's comfortable with playing, that's a dude that I think his future is bright with the Vikings at corner. We didn't get to see all of Booth, and he looked pretty good at times when he was out there. He's young. He's just going to get better. Dantzler, when he's healthy, was starting to look better. Pat P had a great year. His PFF rating was off the chart. So let's not pretend like the secondary is the worst thing. And yes, I think they should go add somebody to their secondary, but I don't think it's as big of a problem as people think. I think what the problem was, there was no pass rush at times. Like at the beginning of the year, Z was getting off the ball, 10 sacks. After the injury, nothing. They weren't getting the pressure they needed from that line. And Ed Donatel hated to blitz for some reason to get that pressure. And at some point, you got to figure out how to pressure the quarterback, because if he has to get rid of that ball in 2.2 seconds, it really, or less, it really makes it a lot easier on the corners to cover. You can't ask a corner to cover these athletes at receiver and tight end for 4 seconds in the NFL. You can't do it. And that was the big problem. You got to get pressure. And that's why I think Brian Flores would be a big help to the defense too, because he ran 0 blitzes a lot when he was in Miami. A lot. And that defense is what fell off for Miami. That offense is looking great now for Miami, but the defense fell off since Flores isn't there. I think he'd be a great addition to the Vikings, but we'll see what happens with that. But I do know that pass rush will really help those corners, and I don't think the whole secondary is as bad off as people think in Minnesota. Pass rush would help a lot. Young guys coming in and starting. The linebackers. If you watch Vikings games this year, the middle of the field was wide open all the time. Part of it's scheme, part of it's athleticism, part of it was switching to a 3-4 with the Kendricks learning a new system, that kind of thing. But they need speed. So that's why Brian Asamoah steps in, starts to takes one of those starting spots, get younger at linebacker. That's a big deal. Maybe get a younger linebacker or even a veteran that can still move at a decent price in free agency. I think Kwesi did a great job of getting TJ Hawkinson in the middle of the season, and people are like, well, they only got 4 picks. It's going to be 5 or 6, depending on the compensatory picks. And you can look at TJ Hawkinson as your second round pick, and I don't think you could ask for a better second round pick than TJ Hawkinson. And a full off season and a whole nother season in this system, he's just going to get better. I know they're going to back the Brinks truck up to JJ, and they're going to give him a huge deal, but don't worry, it's not going to hit the cap hard for a few years, and I'll tell you why. So JJ's coming out of his 3rd year. He's got his 4th year and his 5th year option, which they can exercise if they give him an extension. So they can exercise that 5th year option and give him the extension after his 4th and 5th year. So they can spread all that big new money out over with the extra 2 cheap years. So it won't hit as hard as it'll look on paper. They'll be able to spread that money out, absorb a lot of that. And yes, he is going to get a ton of money. Wouldn't shock me if he got 30+ million a year. But it is what it is. And like Kwesi said in his exit interview for the season, that's a good problem to have. And we've already started having those discussions. So you know they're going to keep JJ around. TJ Hawkinson's going to get extended at some point. Kirk Cousins. I know some people are going to hate me for saying this, but SKOL Nation, I really believe this. Give him a 2-year extension. You got him for 3 years. Get a young quarterback this year or next. Let him learn under a true professional like Kirk, because that's exactly what he is. let him learn the system, get comfortable, and you might have something. Might have something. But you can't just like there's very few guys in the draft that you can look at and go, can't miss. I think Bryce Young's a hell of a quarterback. Probably he'll be a hell of an NFL quarterback. But a 190-pound quarterback's a little scary, especially a guy that moves around. But I know that's the knock on Kirk. He's not a mobile quarterback. Mobile in the pocket. He needs to be more comfortable stepping up, which he was this year, a lot better. But once Kirk gets more comfortable with that, he's got a few good years left in him. He'll be a top 10 quarterback, pushing up to that top 5 because of the weapons around him in Minnesota. Another move the Vikings can make is Dalvin Cook. Yeah, I said it. Dalvin gets huge plays, and I love him for it. And he seems to get big plays at the right times, but he takes so many losses in the backfield. I don't know. And he's carrying a huge cap number. So you just try to get a low draft pick for him, see if somebody will take him, move on. I know that I've read that they've been shopping him for a day 2 pick, which second or third round, which I'd be cool with too. Will you re-sign Alexander Madsen then? And shameless plug, if you haven't seen it, go over to the Yankee and the Brit. Check out our interview with Alexander Madison. If you want the full episode, because that was on Turf Tales, powered by Overtime Hustling, go over to Overtime Hustling on YouTube. You can see the whole Turf Tales episode with Alexander Madsen. If you just want the interview, you can check it out on Yankee and the Brit. All right, so I'm done plugging our interview with Alexander Madsen. But you re-sign Madsen, Chandler, Nwangu. Sorry, I can't speak today. They got running backs. So maybe if you can keep Madison, he wants to be a starter. And let's be real, the dude could start on 25 teams in this league. There's teams that need help at running back. And don't think a team like Denver wouldn't be quick to try to pick him up with Sean Payton there. They need a running back. Latavius Murray's old, so he's a younger, better Latavius Murray type running back. And he seems to get the big runs when you need it. He's powerful. We've seen him just pull his way into the end zone. I'd like to see Alexander back, but you can move on from Cook and save a bunch of money there. Also, the Vikings aren't that bad against the cap. I mean, they are, but there's moves they can make that give them a ton of cap room. So they have huge flexibility if they want to extend a guy, see if he'll take a cheaper contract, cut him. And that's going to come to the guy that's really going to hurt. This might be the last we've seen of the hometown hero, Adam Thielen, in purple and gold. He's making a lot of money. His wife tweeted out that he ain't looking to take a pay cut and he wants a bigger role. When the wife gets involved, anybody who's married knows that you got to take that into real consideration. It's a family unit. You got to make decisions as a team. It would be really sad to see Adam go, but I do think KJ is really the number 2. They got Jalen Naylor. Maybe Jalen Reagor could become something, number 3, 4 receiver. Who knows? There's a ton of potential if you can get it out of him. Whole offseason in the system, maybe that helps out. You can get a guy in the draft. Adam, I think he might be out of here unless he's willing to take a big pay cut. And everybody's like, he loves the Vikings. He'll take a pay cut. I'm like, go into your boss tomorrow and tell him you're willing to take a pay cut for the good of the company, because it ain't happening. I ain't doing it. You ain't doing it. So I don't know why we expect these players to do it just because they're dealing with millions. But people are trying to create generational wealth for their families, and you can't blame them. There's a short period of time to maximize your profit in that type of job. In sports in general, you maximize your profit while you get it. That's why young kids out of college, they go to Wall Street. They maximize their profit. They work 100 hours a week. They get out after 3-4 years with a ton of money and do something else more relaxing. So Adam Thielen might not be a Viking. I'd love to see him stay, but we'll see what happens there. Irv Smith's probably out of here. Somebody's going to bet on his potential and pay him more than the Vikings would. Plus, I think Vikings fans, as much as we like Irv, we wanted a ton out of Irv. We didn't see what we wanted, so maybe it's better just a fresh start. And this might be the deepest tight end class I've ever seen in the draft. I'm going to be real. I just started looking into the draft probably 2 weeks ago, but there's literally 10 tight ends that could go in the top 3 rounds, and they probably won't, but they could. It's going to be a good draft for tight end. So the Vikings need some depth at tight end. You go get one in the draft. I feel like Kawasi will make some moves to pick up some more draft picks. If it's trading some of the older players, even if it's for low late round draft picks, just to stockpile some, get some extra lottery tickets, as they like to say. But I think Kwesi will make some moves, maybe trade back in the draft. I know people don't want to hear that because we watched it way too much with Rick Spielman. And last year, trading back had a lot to do with they targeted a certain type of player with the speed they wanted on that defense. They figured they could get him late. They saved money on the cap by trading back because of the higher you draft a player, the more money you get. So everything they could do to save a little cap room, I think that had a lot to do with it. But the Vikings, I think, are looking up. Will they be 13-4 next year? Probably not. Maybe. Probably not. But can they be 12-5? Can they be 11-6 and still NFC North champs and a better team? Absolutely. That offense is fire. That offense is fire. And they're just going to get better. That offense is going to get better. It's the defense. And even a slight pickup of defense would be better. You get that defense up to 20 instead of 31st. You get that defense up to 15th. And let's just say something crazy happens. You get that defense in the top 10. That's how you win games and win playoff games and hope to have a chance for the Super Bowl. It's all three units working together, all three units being at least in the top 15, 10 if you can. But if you got top 5 offense and 11th defense, you're fine. But you can't have a shitty special teams either. Can't make boneheaded mistakes. The Vikings really need to find a new kicker because I can't handle Greg Joseph. He's going to give me a heart attack. I think the Vikings are looking all right, man, and I think they're going in the right direction. I think you don't bail on Kirk yet. You do ride out 2-3 more years with Kirk, get a young guy in, let him learn the system, let him learn this behind Kirk. Great for everybody involved. That's just my thoughts. That's my breakdown of what I see happening or could happen with the Vikings this offseason. I'm excited as much as I love the regular season, free agency, the draft. I'm a draft nerd. I literally watch hours of film. I got people in my family who tell me I watch more game film than the scouts do. I know it's not true. It's a joke, but that's how big of a draft nerd I am. I got 3 TVs going during the draft. I'm on the laptop, on my phone. I love the draft. So if you love the draft like that too, subscribe because Maddie and I on the Yankee and the Brit will be coming to you all off season with going over division needs, individual team needs, what's going on with coaches, quarterbacks, whoever. Big news. We break down the draft position by position. We give you our mock draft. We only do one. We ain't crazy like all the others. But we give you one mock draft. It's a good time. Just hit that subscribe. All right, make sure you hit that subscribe. And if you want, go over to overtimehustling.com and check out all their merch, the music, the magazines, everything. They got it popping over there. Check them out on YouTube. Also, tap in if you're a basketball fan. Manoli and Montana are killing it on Well Beyond the Arc. We got MMA Underground with Buddy V and Sam K with great fighter guests every week. It's a dope show. Check that out. We got, wow, I'm blanking right here. We got the Mark Out podcast, the pro wrestling podcast with Devin. Sorry, Devin. And we also got Real Talk that's been dropping some documentaries. The John Gotti one's out. There's a new one coming out about the Calicante family. Check that out. That's another reason to subscribe. All right. Thanks for watching. I'm done pitching all the shows. You guys have a great day and SKOL. One world, one love. Deuces.